In every corner of the world, there are secrets. Stories that exist beyond logic, beyond reason. Stories that don't want to be understood, only experienced. Tonight, we return to those places. Places where space bends, where shadows are alive, and where darkness never truly ends. Welcome to Dynamic Dark. Welcome to a brand new horror episode. Welcome to episode 80. Welcome to season 2 of Dynamic Dark. I'm Aditya, and today I bring you 3 terrifying haunted stories. New stories, new week, new fear. In our last episode, episode 79, we explored haunted horror creepypasta tales that left many of you unsettled. If you missed it, the link is in the description below. Make sure to check it out. And now, let's begin episode 80. If you are new here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell if you dare to see what comes next. Tonight, we'll explore 3 chilling stories, each one more disturbing than the last. The first story is The Open Pit. The second story is The Long Platform. And the third story is The Storage Field. If you love horror like this, then you're in the right place. Because only on Dynamic Dark will you experience classic creepypasta style horror, blended with psychological fear and haunting, unexplained darkness. For the best experience, put on your earphones or headphones. Let the silence, the suspense, and the shadows consume you. And if your room lights are on, turn them off for a more cinematic and terrifying experience. Now, let's begin today's first story. The Open Pit. The pit was wider than a football ground and perfectly round. Its edges fell sharply, disappearing into darkness. No machines, no workers, just a vast, silent depth that seemed to swallow sound. People standing at the edge felt smaller than they should have. Even their own breathing felt too loud, echoing off the concrete like a warning. The air was thicker near the rim, heavy and unnatural, making it hard to move or think clearly. Some swore they saw black human-shaped figures far below, standing perfectly still, facing upward. At first, they thought it was a trick of light or shadows cast by the setting sun. But the figures never moved. They never bent. They didn't climb, and they didn't fall. They simply waited. The deeper the pit, the darker it became. Sunlight refused to reach the bottom, fading halfway down into an oppressive blackness. And in that blackness, the figures became sharper, clearer, their silhouettes too precise to be natural. Sometimes, a shape would tilt its head slightly, as if watching someone at the edge, acknowledging their presence without a sound. Wind from the surrounding rocks never reached the bottom. Yet the faintest echo of a footstep or voice made the entire pit hum, vibrating as if something alive stirred in the darkness. People who lingered too long felt their shadows stretch unnaturally, slipping away from them and drifting toward the pit's edge. Some said they could feel the gaze of the figures, not on their faces, but inside their minds, heavy and insistent. A quiet warning, you are too small here. And then, just as suddenly, the pit would seem empty. No shapes, no movement. Yet everyone knew the black figures had never left. They were simply waiting. Waiting for someone to step too close. Waiting for someone to look down. Engineers said the pit was inactive. No machines. No workers. No movement. Yet every evening, the edges of the pit began to behave strangely. Shadows cast by the people standing near the rim didn't obey the sun. They leaned inward, stretching longer than physics allowed, moving independently of their owners. Sometimes they wavered, as if the pit itself was breathing beneath them. One man stepped back cautiously, testing the edge. His shadow remained rooted. It did not move. It didn't shrink. It didn't obey. It simply slipped over the edge, slowly, silently, disappearing into the bottomless darkness. A chill ran down his spine. He looked over the edge again. The black human-shaped silhouettes far below now seemed slightly taller, slightly closer than before. Some turned their head upward, staring without eyes. Others remained perfectly still, absorbing the faint light that tried to reach them. The pit seemed alive. The very ground hummed faintly, vibrating under his feet. Every sound was amplified, his breathing, the crunch of dust, the faint rustle of air, and yet the bottom remained completely silent. He tried to retreat, but the shadows at the edge were different now. Not his own. They moved subtly toward him, stretching unnaturally, as if testing, measuring. His own shadow seemed to hesitate, lingering at the rim, caught in a tug-of-war between the pit and him. For a moment, time itself seemed to pause. The man froze. The sun dipped lower. The darkness at the bottom swallowed the black silhouettes. And yet, in the fading light, they seemed to multiply, more figures appearing where none had been before. He took a trembling step back. The edge crumbled slightly beneath him. The shadows leaned further, deeper, pulling at him, a silent promise. And then he ran. Heart pounding. Breath ragged. But the echo of the shadows. Both his own and the black figures lingered, stretching, reaching, waiting. Soon, people noticed more figures at the bottom of the pit. Always the same shape. Always standing apart. They were not reflections. They were not echoes. Each new figure appeared the morning after someone visited the pit alone. A boy named Arjun decided to see for himself. He had heard the rumors, the engineers, the villagers, everyone who dared to approach the pit. The stories of black forms, silent and still, waiting in the darkness. Early in the morning, before anyone else arrived, he stood at the rim. The sun was barely above the horizon, light stretching thin over the massive pit. He could see the figures at the bottom, spaced perfectly apart, featureless, frozen in black stillness. Arjun took a cautious step forward. The ground beneath him seemed heavier than usual, as if pressing down. The shadows of his own body stretched unnaturally over the rim, creeping toward the pit floor. With each step, the silence deepened. The black figures did not move, yet their presence pressed into his mind. He could feel their gaze, not looking at him, but inside him, testing him. A gentle wind swirled dust around the rim, making the figures appear to flicker, shift slightly. Arjun's heart pounded. He noticed another figure, closer than the rest, one that hadn't been there before. It had appeared silently overnight, exactly like the stories said, always after someone approached the pit alone. The boy froze. Every instinct screamed to run, yet something compelled him to look closer. The black figures at the bottom seemed to multiply slowly, spreading further across the pit, their stillness more oppressive than ever. The air grew thick, heavy, almost alive with their presence. Arjun whispered a question to himself. Why do you follow them? Why do you appear? No answer came, only the deep, silent weight of the pit, and the knowing, patient watch of the black figures. And as the morning light strengthened, he realized every figure at the bottom had been waiting for him. At noon, the pit should have been bright. Instead, light stopped halfway down. Below that line, darkness thickened. Not shadow. Something heavier, denser, almost alive. Witnesses said the black figures at the bottom slowly turned their heads upward whenever someone stood at the edge, as if recognizing ownership. A girl named Mira approached the pit. Her friends had warned her, but curiosity pulled her forward. The sun was high, yet the pit swallowed half its light, leaving the bottom in an unnatural gloom. Mira stepped closer to the rim. Her shadow stretched unnaturally, elongating toward the darkness below. And there they were, black ghostly figures, dozens now, each one distinct. Some tall and looming, rising like towers in the pit's gloom. Some low and slithering, creeping across the bottom. Some floating just above the pit floor, flickering in midair. Some twisting and bending, defying natural form. Each figure turned its featureless head upward as Mira approached, acknowledging her presence. The air felt thick, almost viscous, pressing against her chest with silent weight. She felt drawn, terrified, yet unable to move. The swirling mist and dust along the rim danced around her feet, as if guiding her eyes to the figures. Her heart pounded. Each breath echoed like a drum in the emptiness. The pit seemed alive. The shadows of the figures moved subtly with the shifting light, yet remained undeniably heavy and present. It was as if the darkness itself was measuring her, testing her, waiting for her next step. A small gust of wind stirred the surface, making the ghostly figures flicker and shimmer. Some bent closer to the edge, not touching her, but brushing against the boundary of reality. The weight of their silent recognition pressed down on Mira's mind, filling it with an unshakable, creeping dread. She took a step back. The figures turned slightly in unison, following her retreat with a slow, deliberate awareness. And as the noon sun blazed above, the bottomless darkness and the black figures remained, waiting, acknowledging, claiming. One surveyor, Ravi, decided to investigate the pit with a camera. He lowered it slowly from the edge, ropes creaking in the silence. The footage at first showed nothing. Just the pit walls, fading into darkness, dust particles dancing in thin light. But when Ravi began pulling the camera back up, he noticed something chilling. The lens, the surface of the camera, was covered in hand-shaped black marks, pressed from the inside. Smudged, featureless, yet distinctly human-like, as if invisible hands had pressed against it from the pit's depth. Ravi stepped back instinctively. The pit did not record shadows. It kept them. He lowered the camera again. This time, tiny black forms were visible near the bottom, new black ghost types. Some amorphous hands hovering midair, stretching upward. Some shadowy arms crawling along walls, moving independently. Some featureless, floating black orbs, pulsing slowly. All featureless, yet radiating a presence that weighed on Ravi's mind. As he watched, the pit seemed to respond to his gaze. The camera rope swayed slightly, though no wind blew. Dust and mist twisted around unseen shapes, suggesting movement deeper in the darkness. Ravi's own shadow stretched unnaturally over the rim, merging briefly with a black hand-like shape that recoiled instantly. The pit pressed down, heavy and alive, yet silent. The surveyor realized the horrifying truth. This pit did not just hold shadows. It kept them, accumulated them, and quietly waited for the next soul to approach. Ravi let go of the rope for a brief second, and in that moment, the black marks on the camera seemed to pulse, as if breathing. The pit remained still, vast, and hungry with silent recognition. The project was sealed. Fences were built. Warnings were posted. Still, the pit looks deeper every year. From a distance, locals say the bottom is no longer empty. It looks crowded. A man named Samir, walking near the fence, stopped to look. He had heard the stories, engineers, villagers, surveyors, everyone who dared to approach the pit. But nothing had prepared him for what he saw. The sunlight revealed the pit's immense depth, and yet shadows far below seemed to move with a life of their own. The bottom was filled with black ghostly forms, distinct and terrifying. Some tall, rigid silhouettes standing silently in formation. Some low, slithering shadows weaving around the taller figures. Some floating wraiths, rotating slowly in midair. Some fragmented shapes, constantly shifting, never still. From above, the pit seemed to breathe, an ominous rhythm of dark presence. The air around Samir grew thick, heavy, charged with silent menace. The figures at the bottom appeared to acknowledge him, turning slightly as if aware of his gaze. Wind swirled around the fence, kicking up dust and loose leaves, but the shadows below remained unaffected. Some shapes slowly moved toward the pit walls, stretching unnaturally, others remained still, forming patterns too precise to be random. Samir felt the weight of countless unseen eyes pressing up from the pit's depths. Though far away, he could sense layers of accumulated darkness, the ghosts growing in number each year, claiming the pit as their own. And as he stepped back from the fence, heart racing, he realized this pit was never empty. It was never safe. It kept growing, kept collecting, and one day, it might reach the surface itself. The second story is the long platform. The railway platform stretched farther than the eye could see. Old, abandoned, and untouched for decades. No trains stopped here. No workers, no footsteps, just endless concrete. A boy named Lucas walked cautiously along the platform. His footsteps echoed unnaturally in the emptiness, bouncing off the walls and ceiling of the derelict station. People walking alone had noticed them before. Black human-shaped figures standing silently along the platform. They didn't move. They didn't breathe. They only watched. As Lucas stepped forward, the air grew heavier. A faint, cold breeze rustled dust and debris across the concrete surface. The sunlight filtering through broken windows barely illuminated the platform, leaving long, creeping shadows in every corner. One figure, near the far end, seemed closer than before. Its presence pressed on Lucas' mind, an almost physical weight. He tried to focus on the ground beneath his feet, but every instinct screamed to look up. The figure's featureless face, a void of darkness, seemed to pierce his soul. The boy's shadow stretched and twisted unnaturally along the platform, merging with the faint fog curling in from the broken tunnels. Every step brought him closer, yet the platform seemed endless, stretching into a horizon of concrete and silence. The black figure didn't move, yet Lucas felt it tracking him, following him with intent. He could sense its awareness, subtle and omnipresent, like it had been waiting for him specifically. A sudden gust of wind swept across the platform, carrying faint echoes, distant, distorted sounds of trains that had never run, voices that had never spoken. The figure remained still, yet the space around it quivered subtly, bending light and shadow, a living absence of reality. Lucas stopped. His heart thumped loudly in his chest. He took a tentative step back. The figure did not blink, did not shift, yet he felt its gaze grow heavier, pressing down on his mind. The platform stretched endlessly in both directions. No escape. Only him. Only the figure. And as the sunlight dimmed further through the cracked roof, Lucas realized. This platform had no end, this figure had always been there, and the moment he stepped alone onto the concrete, he had been seen, acknowledged, and trapped in its silent observation. The figures were always spaced perfectly apart. No closer. No farther. Never closer than 2 meters. Never farther than 5. Lucas noticed that before anything else. Before the fog. Before the silence. Before the feeling that the platform was longer than it should be. The railway platform stretched endlessly, swallowed by still air. No trains. No announcements. No movement except the slow drift of fog along the ground. The black forms hovered within it. Not standing. Not touching the surface. Suspended, as if the ground beneath them did not matter. Lucas walked alone. His footsteps made no sound. He began counting without meaning to. 1, 2, 3. Each figure kept the same distance from the next. Perfectly measured. Too precise to be random. He reached 12 and stopped. Something felt wrong. Lucas turned his head slightly, checking the spacing again. Nothing had changed. So he kept walking. The fog thickened near the center of the platform, dulling the lights overhead. Lucas counted again, slower this time. The number was higher. He was certain he hadn't missed any before. There had been gaps. Clear gaps. Now those spaces were filled. No sound marked their arrival. No shift in the air. No movement in the corner of his eye. They had multiplied without appearing. Lucas reached the far end of the platform and turned back. The distance behind him felt stretched. Not visually. Spatially. The figures were still evenly spaced from each other. But the space between Lucas and the nearest one felt reduced. They hadn't moved. The platform had. Lucas felt an urge to step back. He didn't. The fog around the figures grew denser, hiding their edges. Their shapes remained incomplete, never fully visible. As if the darkness refused to settle into one form. Lucas stopped counting. The number no longer mattered. Security footage later showed Lucas walking the platform alone. No sudden stops. No hesitation. But the frame contained far more dark forms than the length of the platform should allow. Always evenly spaced. Always silent. Always leaving enough room for one more figure to appear. The platform's concrete was cracked and worn, patches of moss and grime clinging stubbornly to the edges. Every step Lucas took echoed unnaturally, bouncing off the empty expanse, but the black ghostly figures hovering above the ground made no sound at all. Their presence was almost surreal, perfectly still, yet impossibly vast in number, spaced as if by some precise, unknown design. A faint fog swirled low along the platform, curling around the cracks, hiding edges, and muting the faint flicker of the overhead lights. The figures seemed to drift gently within it, their edges blurred, as though the darkness itself refused to let them fully exist. Lucas noticed the fog thickening as he walked, each step feeling heavier, each breath sharper in the still, oppressive air. A child wandered too close, drawn by curiosity or perhaps a need to see what shouldn't be seen. The child's small footsteps seemed deafening in the airy quiet. One of the black figures slowly raised its arm, not threatening, just acknowledging, as if recognizing something only it could perceive. The child froze, eyes wide, heart hammering. The figure's arm hung in the air for a moment too long, suspended like the platform itself, and then lowered slowly, deliberately, as if following some invisible rhythm. Another figure drifted silently into its place further down, moving without touching the platform, a phantom replacement in a sequence that should not exist. The child's gaze followed it, mesmerized and terrified, while the fog curled tighter, obscuring their edges, hiding their forms in thick, rolling shadows. Lucas took a cautious step closer, but the fog seemed to respond, growing denser around him, twisting the light into streaks that danced unnaturally. He counted the figures, slowly, carefully, but the number kept shifting. Gaps he thought he'd seen were filled the next moment, silently, impossibly. Each figure remained perfectly spaced from the others, yet the platform itself seemed to stretch and warp beneath them, bending reality, twisting perception. Time slowed. Each second stretched unnaturally. The child's small body remained frozen in place, unsure whether to flee or follow. The figures drifted in silent, graceful motions, their black forms absorbing light, obscuring edges, and warping space. Lucas noticed the patterns, almost deliberate, almost ritualistic. Every figure's movement felt coordinated, yet utterly silent. The fog thickened even more, wrapping the platform in a dense, suffocating curtain. Lucas' footsteps made no sound now. He felt the platform beneath him less like concrete and more like an extension of the fog itself. The black figures hovered, perfectly still, watching, acknowledging, multiplying in silence. The child blinked, and in that instant, one figure's arm lowered while another drifted into place further down the platform. Lucas' breath caught. The platform seemed infinite. The fog, the shadows, the silent black figures, all of it pressing in, bending perception. And in that moment, the child realized something terrifying. The figures were never static, never absent. Always present, perfectly spaced, always leaving just enough room for one more to appear. Time didn't pass, it stretched. Each movement, each blink of the eye, was measured, deliberate, and impossible to comprehend. The platform held them all, Lucas, the child, the black hovering figures, in a tense, frozen moment of suspense. The fog swirled, the figures multiplied silently, and the quiet was absolute. No sound. No warning. Just the oppressive, creeping presence of black ghosts floating above the cracked, endless platform, watching, acknowledging, and waiting. The benches along the abandoned railway platform were cracked, worn, and coated with years of dust and grime. Workers who dared to sit for even a moment whispered later of dreams they could barely describe, visions so vivid, so oppressive, that they carried the weight of reality itself. They dreamt of the platform stretching endlessly, lights flickering weakly, fog rolling low over the cracked concrete. In their dreams, thick black ghostly forms hovered above the ground, moving silently, gliding past with impossible precision. The shapes were abstract, non-human, completely opaque, some with sharp edges, others softly blurred, all floating slowly and deliberately, matching the workers' own pace. The air was heavy, the fog dense, curling around the figures like it belonged to them. There was no sound, no announcement, only the unnerving feeling that the platform itself was alive, stretching wider and longer with every passing moment. When the workers woke, they found the world subtly changed. Their shadows, cast by the dim flickering lights, had stretched unnaturally across the platform, elongated and warped exactly like in their dreams. They had imagined the impossible, yet it had happened. The platform, the fog, the oppressive silence, and the hovering black ghosts all remained, echoing the endless horror of their visions. Every corner seemed to hide movement, every patch of fog concealed a thick black form gliding slowly and deliberately above the cracked floor. The sensation lingered, a slow, suffocating tension pressing down on them. The platform wasn't just infinite in dreams, it felt infinite in waking reality. And the black ghosts remained, always present, never touching the ground, perfectly spaced, silent witnesses to human curiosity, forever drifting through the fog-laden station, a reminder that some visions refuse to fade. One night, under the flickering glow of broken platform lights, Lucas decided to sprint to the far end of the abandoned railway platform. The cracked concrete beneath his shoes echoed loudly, but the thick black ghostly forms hovering above the ground remained silent. They were abstract, non-human, and completely opaque, some jagged, some elongated, some twisting like shadows made solid. Each one hovered without touching the floor, perfectly spaced, always just out of reach. As Lucas ran, the figures appeared closer with every step, almost teasing him. No matter how fast he sprinted, they moved faster, gliding in smooth, deliberate patterns, maintaining the same impossible distance. Fog rolled low across the platform, thickening as if responding to his pace, curling around the black forms and diffusing the weak, flickering lights, creating deep pockets of shadow. The platform stretched endlessly into the darkness, and with each step, the air felt heavier, suffocating, oppressive. Lucas' breath came in harsh gasps, sweat slicking his forehead, yet still the figures hovered silently, watching, matching his movement with unnerving precision. The fog blurred their edges, some forms appeared as elongated shards, others as twisting smoke tendrils. Every time he thought he might reach the end, the platform seemed to stretch further, the figures gliding just ahead, always maintaining that perfect, unyielding spacing. Hours passed, or perhaps minutes, time lost all meaning. His feet pounded the endless cracked concrete, yet the end remained unreachable. By the faint light of dawn, the platform lay empty and silent. Lucas had vanished, swallowed by the night, the fog, and the infinite stretch of concrete. All that remained was one thick black ghost hovering where he had begun, its opaque form still, unmoving, a silent witness to his futile sprint and the impossible geometry of the haunted platform. Locals whispered warnings about the abandoned railway platform. They said that if Lucas crossed it alone, he would eventually find something unnerving, a thick black ghostly shape appearing exactly where he stood, hovering silently in the dense fog. No one could say how long it stayed. Some claimed it was permanent, an unshakable mark. Others said the figure eventually drifted away, but only to return when another soul stepped onto the platform. The fog rolled low along the cracked concrete, curling around the weak flickering lights, muting their glow. Each black figure was abstract, non-human, thick and solid, with irregular geometric edges or cube-like forms, floating above the ground without touching it. Some drifted slowly forward, some lingered motionless, all perfectly spaced yet unpredictable, creating an oppressive, otherworldly rhythm. Their presence pressed against Lucas' mind, a silent weight that made the air feel heavier. As Lucas stepped carefully along the platform, the fog thickened, obscuring the edges of the ghostly forms and warping perception. Each step he took made the figures shift, glide, or multiply without warning, leaving no trace of movement except the sense that he was being measured, observed, and recorded by something ancient and unseen. The platform stretched endlessly, and every shadow seemed alive, flickering under the pale, flickering lights. By nightfall, the platform was empty, save for the thick black shapes that marked Lucas' path. Some hovered where he had paused, their opaque forms casting unnerving shadows into the swirling fog, while others disappeared only to reappear moments later, perfectly placed and unyielding. The locals avoided it now, whispering about the silent guardians of the station, the endless fog, and the way the black ghosts could mark a spot forever or until Lucas dared to cross again. And the third story is the storage field. The storage field stretched endlessly. A woman named Mira stood alone among rusted machines. Then she saw them, black human shapes, watching. No faces. No eyes. Just shadows. The figures never moved. Never made a sound. Yet the air grew heavy near them. Mira stepped closer. A black ghost slowly lifted part of its mask. Not threatening, just acknowledging. She froze. When she blinked, it was back in place. But closer than before. Blackheart. During daylight, the field looked empty. At dusk, the black ghosts became visible. Darker than shadows, absorbing light around them. Cameras captured nothing. But Mira saw them in reflections. Puddles, rusted metal, and cracked windows. Blackheart. Footsteps echoed too loudly across the field. Even when Mira walked alone. Sometimes she heard extra steps, matching ones she hadn't taken. When she turned, nothing was there. Yet the black ghosts along the edges shifted silently, rearranging themselves to watch. Blackheart. One day, Mira tried to document the field. She set cameras at multiple points, hoping to capture evidence. Footage revealed nothing. But on playback, a single black ghost appeared in every frame. In corners, at far edges, even behind the camera, always there. It never moved. It was everywhere at once, dense and solid. Its form abstract, not human-shaped, no limbs, no face, just pure darkness absorbing light. Wherever Mira looked, it lingered, silently watching. A presence impossible to escape. Blackheart. Eventually, the field was locked down. No human was allowed inside. Locals say the black ghosts remain, standing silently among abandoned hangars and rusted machinery. Sometimes, at night, the faint sound of heavy footsteps echoes through the empty field. Mira, walking nearby once, felt the vibrations beneath her feet. But whenever she approached, nothing was ever found. The black ghosts linger, dense, monolithic shapes, not human-shaped, no faces or limbs. Absorbing light, anchored to the foggy ground. As if the field itself belongs to them now. Blackheart. So that was the end of episode 80 of Dynamic Dark. If these chilling tales and haunted stories made you shiver, tell us in the comments which story kept you awake tonight. The most terrifying comment. I, Aditya, will pin it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and enable notifications bell so you never miss our next descent into the unknown. And share this video with your friends and family if they can handle the fear. Have a haunted location, creepy encounter, or urban legend to share? Drop it in the comments. The idea with the most likes will be featured in our next episode. Episode 81 is coming soon, where we will dive deep into Indian horror stories, uncover darker mysteries, cursed places, and secrets that linger where the shadows never sleep. Stay tuned, keep watching, and dare to explore the terrifying unknown with Dynamic Dark every episode at 7:45 p.m.